We had kind of bug brain U as our funnel that was pulling everything together and going back and forth between internal and external voices in the community. We just kind of collectively looked at youth and education as a whole, not specifically the issue of the opportunity gap, and tried to map out different places and different entities that were collaborating. The bold lines are more formal relationships, and the dotted lines are more informal partnerships and connections between the two.
I think the theme is that there's a whole lot of stuff going on, and we missed half of it, and it's only loosely connected, if at all. We both took kind of different but similar, connected approaches to how a new map might look, and this one was just overlaying the university hierarchical structure. You needed something that connects and communicates and creates partnerships, convenes, brings people together, the research and education and programs that exist using a community engagement model. This group got a little more specific. They were calling it Youth Engagement and Learning Opportunities Lab with different acronyms. They had LOL, so it could be entertaining. But they were noting communicating, this pink circle is communication bridge, and there's a university leaders or university connections and family educators and students connections too.
The big challenge seems to be around the fact that there's lots and lots of different entities doing different kinds of work in relation to youth engagement or the problematic of the opportunity gap. And there are lots of entities in the university. There's a Generation Next, which is President Kaler and R.T. Ryback right now, that has limited connections, as we understand, with the lots and lots of different entities. And that ultimately, when we encounter this problematic, the same kinds of proposals keep being made, like we need to be more connected. But the resources that enable that never really get targeted. So one thing we were thinking about was if there were a grant that were associated with making this be more of a long-term problematic addressing rather than let's have a conference, which is yet another project moment, is maybe trying to get some kind of identifying some staff who could be the ones to do the kind of internal convening of people, of key stakeholders, people who are working on this across the university, who would also ensure that there's a link up to those who are at the top of the university hierarchy, who are really connected to a lot of the resources. And at the same time, making sure there's a connection to all of the grassroots people who are in the communities doing this kind of work, so that there's people who are identified and compensated for doing the labor of the networking, and not just assuming that it's going to come from those who are already overworked anyway. And at the same time, we talked about, well, but it still would be useful to have something like a listserv, some kind of communication network hub where we could let each other know about things that are already happening.
The first Monday of the month, you can sign up for a 5 or 8 minute slot to talk about what you do and spend an hour, hour and a half having coffee or whatever and learning what a dozen other people are doing around the university.
There's a strategic planning initiative too that's been for many years. It sort of this keeps bubbling up and not really going anywhere, of organizing students not just around majors but around problems that they would all work together to solve.
And then I also brought up Julie's entity of Minnesota Campus Compacts, another organizing entity that we're all members as a university of, and resource sharing that way, and possibly convening that way with ourselves, but also our other partners in the state and nation.
I would just say quickly, I think it's great in seeing these two groups come together, how the approach in one group was to identify the places where this work happens, and the other was to identify the issues that are addressed. I think for me, then a logical next step would be to overlay the mapping of those two. And one of the themes that I heard when I was able to listen to several of the groups was this idea of stemming from the hub would be sort of challenge nodes, where specific challenges related to that hub are addressed. So it becomes more about what is the work that's being done and where is it most appropriately done, and less about how this sort of network is structured. So I think that the way that you presented the two approaches really tease that up nicely. I would hope there'd be an opportunity to do that, overlaying them for that next step of mapping.
If you were imagining a TED conference, what if there are young people talking about how do they envision unleashing human potential? Or, you know, I guess that was, I mean,
Yeah, that
not
was
a
part of
criticism,
our,
just a wonder.
it was part of our conversation.
Yeah.
And one example of a program at Central, the Seeds of Change, where youth were, instead of being the object of analysis of you are the problem, we're the experts, we're going to tell you that you're the problem and how to solve it, say, have them become the people who tackle the problem, and to both define it and to come up with different kinds of solutions that tackle the different kinds of root causes of what that problematic is.
And even, is there a different energy that comes from tackling a problem versus unleashing human potential?
Yeah.
It's like a positive vision.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, it's asset-based. And I think of youth studies and youth development and leadership as academic places where youth are central to anybody in those academic programs. And again, connected to community work, which is our point here.